The rain-slicked keys slipped from Alex Rivera's trembling fingers, clattering against the gravel like the final heartbeat of a man long gone. He knelt to retrieve them, his knees sinking into the mud of his childhood driveway in Seattle's Queen and neighborhood. And for a moment, the world blurred with tears that tasted of regret and unspoken truths. That old Ford truck, his father's pride and joy, a 1985 beast with dents like battle scars, now his reluctant inheritance, held secrets he never imagined would shatter his carefully guarded heart. Alex straightened, wiping his face with the back of his hand, the chill October wind off Puget sound biting through his flannel shirt. At 28, he was no stranger to loss. His father, Miguel Rivera, had fought lung cancer for 2 years before succumbing last spring, leaving behind a wife who baked pies to drown her sorrow and 2 daughters who filled the house with forced laughter. But Alex? He carried the silence like a second skin. The family gathering the night before had been a blur of hugs and casseroles, his mother pressing the keys into his palm with eyes that pleaded for him to keep something of Miguel alive. He loved that truck more than anything, she'd whispered, her voice cracking. Take it, Mijo. Drive it like he would. Now, alone in the gray dawn, Alex circled the vehicle, its faded red paint chipped from decades of hauling lumber from the Olympic Peninsula forests where Miguel had worked as a logger. The cab smelled of pine sap and old coffee when he climbed in, the leather seat cracked and warm from some phantom memory. He turned the key, and the engine roared to life with a guttural cough, vibrating through his chest like a challenge. Seattle sprawled before him, all fog-shrouded hills and ferries slicing the water, a city that had always felt too vast for his hidden aches. He drove aimlessly at first, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the drizzle, past the Space Needle's skeletal silhouette and into the industrial heart of Fremont. The truck rattled over potholes, protesting like it knew he didn't belong behind the wheel. Alex's life was a tidy box, a graphic designer job downtown, evenings sketching logos in his Capitol Hill apartment, dates that fizzled because he couldn't voice the words that burned inside him. Gay. The label he'd whispered to himself since college, but never to anyone else. Not after Miguel's stern lectures on family duty, on being the son who carried the Rivera name straight and strong. By noon, the engine began to sputter, smoke curling from under the hood like a warning. Alex pulled into the first shop he saw, Harlan's Auto Repair, a squat brick building tucked between a tattoo parlor and a vegan cafe. The sign creaked in the wind, promising honest fixes for honest folks. He killed the ignition and sat there, heart pounding, until a shadow fell across the windshield. The man who tapped on the glass was broad-shouldered, with grease-streaked forearms and a smile that cut through the gloom like sunlight on water. "Trouble?" he asked, his voice warm and gravelly, laced with that easy Pacific Northwest drawl. Alex rolled down the window, managing a nod. "It's my dad's old truck. Won't stop coughing up smoke." The mechanic, his name tag read Jake, leaned in, close enough that Alex caught the scent of motor oil and fresh sawdust. Jake Harlan was 30, with sun-bleached blonde hair tied back in a ponytail, blue eyes sharp as fjords, and a jawline shadowed by stubble. He wore a faded Henley that hugged his muscled frame, the kind earned from wrenching engines rather than gym reps. "Let's take a look," Jake said, popping the hood with practiced ease. As he peered inside, Alex watched the way his hands moved, sure, calloused, alive with quiet competence. It stirred something in Alex's gut, a flutter he quickly shoved down. "Radiator's seen better days," Jake diagnosed after a few minutes, wiping his brow. "And the timing belt's about shot. I can fix her up, but it'll take a couple days. You got a ride home?" Alex hesitated, glancing at the truck like it might vanish if he left it. Yeah, I can Uber." Jake chuckled, a low rumble that eased a knot in Alex's chest. "Tell you what, drop by tomorrow. I'll have coffee waiting. Name's Jake." "Alex," he replied, their eyes locking for a beat too long. Jake's gaze held no judgment, just a spark of curiosity that made Alex's pulse quicken. As he slid out and called for a ride, he felt the weight of the day lift slightly, replaced by an unfamiliar warmth. That night, in his apartment overlooking the bustling streets of Capitol Hill, where rainbow flags fluttered from every lamppost during Pride but felt like taunts the rest of the year, Alex couldn't sleep. He scrolled through old photos on his phone, Miguel grinning beside the truck on a sunlit logging road, his mustache thick and proud, arms slung around a younger Alex's shoulders. "Be a man, hijo," Miguel had said 1,000 times, words that now echoed like accusations. Alex had nodded then, buried his first crush on a high school teammate deep in the closet of his soul. Coming out? It would have broken his father's heart, or so he told himself. The next morning, he returned to the shop under a sky heavy with promise of rain. Jake was there, as advertised, handing over a steaming mug from the ancient percolator in the corner office. Black, 2 sugars, guessed right? Jake teased, his smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. Spot on, Alex admitted, sipping the bitter brew. They talked as Jake worked, the conversation flowing easier than Alex expected. Jake had grown up in Tacoma, son of a fisherman, apprenticed under his uncle before buying this place 5 years back. Love the grease under my nails, Jake said, torquing a bolt with a grunt. Keeps me grounded. What about you? That truck's got stories. Yours too, I bet. Alex shrugged, leaning against the workbench, watching sparks fly from the grinder. My dad passed last spring. This was his baby. Logging runs, family trips to the coast. Felt like inheriting a ghost. Jake paused, setting down his tools, his expression softening. I'm sorry, man. Lost my old man to a storm out on the Sound when I was a kid. Sea takes what it wants. But ghosts? They stick around if you let him. There was a depth to his words, a shared ache that bridged the space between them. By afternoon, the truck purred like new, but Jake insisted on a test drive. Gotta make sure she holds, he said, tossing Alex the keys. They cruised out toward Golden Gardens Park, windows down, the salt air whipping through the cab. The radio crackled to life on a classic rock station, Springsteen belting Thunder Road, and Jake sang along off-key, his laughter infectious. Alex found himself relaxing, the knot in his chest loosening as they parked by the beach, waves crashing against driftwood logs. They walked the shore, boots crunching on pebbles, the conversation turning personal without warning. Ever feel like you're driving someone else's life? Jake asked, skipping a stone across the water. His voice was casual, but his eyes searched Alex's face. All the time, Alex confessed, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. Like I'm waiting for permission to. I don't know, turn left instead of straight. Jake stopped, turning to face him, the wind tousling his ponytail. Permission from who? The only road that matters is the one you're on. He reached out, clapping Alex on the shoulder, his touch lingering, a spark that ignited something dormant. Alex's breath caught, the air between them charged with unspoken possibility. Back at the shop, as Alex prepared to leave, Jake scribbled his number on a receipt. If that beast acts up, call me. Or, if you just need a drive. Seattle's better with company. Alex nodded, pocketing it like a talisman. That night, he lay awake, Jake's words replaying, mingling with dreams of open roads and hands intertwined. For the first time in years, the silence in his heart felt less like a cage and more like a door cracking open. Days blurred into a rhythm Alex hadn't known he craved. He'd find excuses to visit the shop, a loose mirror here, an oil check there, each time lingering longer, their talks weaving deeper. Jake shared stories of his own. The uncle who taught him to fish and fix engines, the ex who'd left when the long hours wore thin. I don't do halfway, Jake admitted one evening, as they shared takeout tacos from food truck outside. Love like that, it's all or nothing. Alex swallowed hard, the spice burning his throat. Yeah, I get that. He wanted to say more, to spill the secret that had festered since he was 18, when he'd kissed a boy behind the bleachers and tasted freedom laced with fear. But the words stuck, tangled in memories of Miguel's disappointed sighs over his lack of girlfriends. Then came the call that upended everything. It was a Thursday, rain lashing the windows of Alex's office as he sketched ad mock-ups. Jake's number lit his phone. Hey, got something you need to see. About the truck. Can you swing by? Alex's stomach twisted. Bad news. Not bad. Jake replied, his tone cryptic. Life-changing, maybe. Just. Cool, mate. He arrived to find a shop dimly lit. Jake waiting by the open bay door, face etched with something unreadable. Concern? Excitement? The truck sat gleaming under the fluorescent lights, hood up, but Jake led him not to the engine, but to the dashboard. Popped the glove box to check the wiring. Found this wedged behind the panel. Sealed envelope, addressed to you. Alex's hands shook as he took it. The paper yellowed. Miguel's blocky handwriting faded, but unmistakable. For Alex, when the time is right. His throat tightened. He never said. Open it. Jake urged softly, his hand on Alex's back, a steady anchor. Inside was a letter, pages thick with ink, and a small key taped to the last sheet. Alex read aloud, voice breaking on the first lines. Me, Iho, if you're reading this, I've gone on without saying the things a father owes his son. This truck carried me through storms you can't imagine, storms of the heart, ones I hid to keep our family whole. But you're stronger than I ever was. There's a compartment under the seat, locked with this key. Inside, truths I buried. Lie them for me, Alex. Be free. Tears blurred the words as Alex fumbled for the key, Jake helping him pry up the floorboard. Concealed in foam was a bundle. Faded photos of a young Miguel embracing a man with laughing eyes, their arms around each other on a sun-drenched beach. A stack of letters tied with twine, love notes from that same man, signed forever, Tomas, a worn journal chronicling a romance cut short by fear and family pressure in the conservative logging towns of the 80s. My God, Alex whispered, flipping through the images. Miguel, radiant and unashamed in youth, the man Alex had only known as stoic and straight-laced. He was, like me, Jake's arm wrapped around his shoulders, pulling him close. He was brave in his way, and he wanted you to be braver. The revelation crashed over Alex like a tidal wave, washing away years of shame. His father hadn't judged. He protected, loved from the shadows. But as elation ebbed, anger surged. Why hide? Why let Alex suffer alone? He slammed the journal shut, chest heaving. He could have told me. Save me from everything. Jake turned him gently, blue eyes steady. Maybe he thought he was. Or maybe he was scared. Doesn't make it hurt less, but it doesn't make his love less real. They stood there in the garage's hum, rain pattering on the tin roof, until Alex leaned in, forehead against Jake's, the dam breaking. Their lips met, tentative at first, then fierce, a kiss born of grief and gratitude, tasting of salt and possibility. Jake's hands cradled his face, thumbs brushing away tears, and in that moment, the world narrowed to the heat between them, the truck's secrets bridging past and present. But secrets have ripples. Alex drove home in a daze, the journal clutched to his chest, mind racing. How to tell his mother? His sisters? The family dinner the next Sunday loomed like a storm front. Elena Rivera, ever the matriarch, had planned tamales and stories of Miguel's logging days, oblivious to the bomb ticking in her son's pocket. He arrived early, the truck rumbling up the drive, drawing whistles from his sisters, Sophia and Maria, who tumbled out to hug him. Finally fixing up Dad's ride? Looks badass, Alex. Sophia teased, her ponytail swinging as she circled it. Inside, the kitchen smelled of masa and chili, Elena chopping onions with rhythmic precision. Mijo, you look peaky. Everything okay? Alex forced a smile, setting the journal on the counter like it burned. Mom, we need to talk. About Dad. Her knife paused, eyes narrowing. What about him? He unfolded the letter, watching her face crumple as she read. Sophia and Maria peered over, gasps echoing. No way. Maria breathed, tracing a photo. Tomas? Who is he? Elena sank into a chair, hands trembling. Your father. He had a life before me. Before you. We met after Tomas left, went back to California, I think. Miguel said it was a youthful thing, but I knew. I always knew. Her voice cracked, not with betrayal, but sorrow. He carried it quiet, for us, for the town that would have run him out. Alex knelt beside her, the pieces slotting into place. Why didn't he tell me? I thought I was alone in this. She cupped his face, tears streaming. Because he saw you struggling, Mijo, the way you pulled away from girls, from us. He wanted to protect you from his pain. But he loved you, fiercely. That truck? It was his confessional. He wrote that letter years ago, after his diagnosis. Made me promise to give it to you if. The room fell silent, save for the sizzle of onions. Sophia broke it, pulling Alex into a hug. You're not alone, dummy. We got your back. Always have. Maria nodded, fierce. And if anyone gives you shit, we'll run him over with that truck. Laughter bubbled up, tentative, then full, binding them tighter. Elena rose, pulling the tamales from the oven. Enough tears. We eat. And tomorrow, we toast to Miguel and Tomas. To love that endures. As they passed plates, stories flowed. Miguel's secret smiles when a Springsteen song played, the way he'd linger by the truck at dusk, lost in thought. Alex shared his own truths, the words freeing him like air after drowning. His family listened. No judgment. Only love. A revelation sweeter than any hidden note. Word of the discovery spread quietly through their circle, drawing raised eyebrows from old logging buddies, whispers from neighbors. But Seattle, with its mosaic of lives, absorbed it like rain into soil. Alex found strength in the ordinary. A call from Jake each night, their dates unfolding like chapters. Picnics by the locks where salmon leaped, hikes in Discovery Park where ferns whispered secrets. One evening, 2 weeks later, Jake invited him to the shop after hours. The bay doors were open to a sunset, painting the sound in pinks and golds. Got a surprise, Jake said, blindfolding Alex with a bandana that smelled of his cologne, cedar and oil. Led forward, the blindfold slipped away to reveal the truck, transformed. Fresh paint gleaming crimson, chrome polished, a custom emblem on the door. A compass rose etched with Sigu 2 Corazon. Follow your heart. Inside, the seat monogrammed with their initials intertwined. You did this. Alex breathed, tracing the letters. Jake shrugged, modest. Figured it deserved a new life. Like us. They climbed in, driving out to Alki Beach, windows down, the radio crooning an old ballad. Parked by the lighthouse, waves lapping like applause, Jake turned to him. Alex, I've fallen hard. For the guy who sketches dreams by day and stares at stars by night. Marry me? Not today, but someday. Build roads together. Tears pricked Alex's eyes, joy swelling. Yes, 1,000 times. Their kiss sealed it, deep and promising, the truck's engine ticking cool beside them. In the distance, the city lights twinkled, a constellation of possibilities. Miguel's message hadn't just changed Alex's life. It had mapped a path to love unhidden, a legacy of courage passed like keys in the rain. Months wove into seasons, Seattle's drizzle giving way to cherry blossoms, then summer's endless twilights. Alex and Jake's life intertwined seamlessly. Mornings with coffee on the balcony, Alex sketching logos inspired by Jake's tales. Evenings wrenching on vintage bikes in the garage, laughter echoing off brick walls. The truck became their chariot. Road trips to the San Juans, where they'd camp under stars, sharing stories of fathers and first loves. But peace brought its own tempests. Elena's church group, staunch in their old ways, murmured when Alex brought Jake to Easter Mass, hands clasped defiantly. It's unnatural, one aunt hissed over post-service brunch, her voice a venomous aside. Elena shut it down, eyes flashing. Unnatural? Hiding who you love. That's the sin. My son found his truth in his father's heart. Yours is closed tighter than a rusted bolt. The words hung, a gauntlet thrown. Alex squeezed Jake's hand under the table, pride swelling. Later, walking the waterfront, Jake murmured, your mom's a force. Like you. Learn from the best, Alex replied, leaning into him as gulls wheeled overhead. Yet doubt crept in shadows. A client at work, spotting Alex's compass tattoo, a nod to the truck, made a snide crack about alternative lifestyles in the industry. It stung, reopening old wounds. That night, Alex paced the apartment, journal in hand. What if it's too much? The stares, the whispers. Dad hid for a reason. Jake pulled him down to the couch, strong arms encircling. He hid to survive. We don't have to, but if it's too much for you. His voice trailed, vulnerability cracking the toughness. No, Alex said fiercely, cupping Jake's face. It's us against the noise. I choose us. Their lovemaking that night was a reaffirmation, slow, tender, bodies mapping familiar territories with renewed wonder. Afterward, tangled in sheets, Alex traced Jake's scars from shop mishaps. This one's from a timing chain snap? Jake grinned, battle wound. This one's from you. Right here. He tapped his chest, snapped my guarded heart wide open. Spring brought a milestone. The annual logging festival in Forks, where Miguel's memory loomed large. Alex decided to go, truck loaded with Elena's pies, Jake at his side. The town square buzzed with flannel shirt loggers, axes thunking into stumps, fiddles wailing. Old-timers clapped Alex on the back. Miguel's boy. That truck shines like new. But eyes widened at Jake's arm around his waist. An uncle, grizzled and beer-loosened, cornered them by the bonfire. Heard about your dad. That. Business. Don't make sense. Alex met his gaze, voice steady. Made perfect sense to him. To me. Love's love, Uncle Ray. Cuts deeper than any saw. The man grumbled, but wandered off, and later, a cousin pulled Alex aside. Saw the photos you shared online. Bava, Mun. Dad would have been proud. The words mended fractures Alex hadn't named. As fireworks burst over the peninsula, Jake whispered, told you. Roads lead home. Summer deepened their bond. A proposal on a ferry to Bainbridge, Jake on one knee amid tourists, ring glinting like a beacon. Follow your heart. With me? Alex's yes echoed over the waves, cheers erupting from strangers. Wedding plans unfolded amid chaos and joy. Elena's tamale feast for tastings, Sophia's DIY invitations etched with compass roses. But Kitchen peaked when a letter arrived from California. Tomas, Miguel's lost love, now 70, frail but fierce. Your father wrote me before he passed. It read. Told me of you, of the truck's secrets. I've waited decades to say. He loved you most. And now, you honor him by living loud. Tomas visited, a silver-haired gent with Miguel's laugh lines, sharing tales over diner coffee, stolen weekends in Big Sur, the ache of parting when family called Miguel home. He chose duty, Tomas said, eyes misty, but he never stopped loving. Alex hugged him goodbye, a circle closing. Thank you for him for this. Fall returned, leaves carpeting Queen Anne streets, the wedding a blur of vows under a pavilion by Green Lake. Jake's I do trembled with emotion, Rings exchanged amid petals and tears. Elena danced with Tomas, a sight that healed old ghosts, while Sophia and Maria toasted to hidden messages and open hearts. In the quiet after, honeymooning along the Oregon coast, truck hugging curves, ocean roaring approval, Alex realized the true change, not just acceptance but agency. Miguel's message hadn't erased pain. It had armed him against it, turning inheritance into empowerment. Back in Seattle, life settled into rhythm. Alex's designs bolder, infused with queer icons. Jake's shop hosting pride repairs for the community. They adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy mutt named Compass, who rode shotgun with unerring loyalty. One crisp December eve, snow dusting the sound. Alex found Jake under the hood of the truck, tinkering by lantern light. "What now?" Alex teased, handing over a beer. Jake straightened, grease-smeared grin wide. "Just checking. She's carried us far. Your dad, us. Figure she deserves to keep going." Alex pulled him close, kiss warm against the cold. "She will. We all will." As stars wheeled above, the truck's engine whispered promises of roads untaken, loves unhidden, lives remade. Miguel's legacy wasn't in silence, but in the courage to speak, to love, to drive on. And in that, Alex found not just change, but completion.